Hello from San Antonio, this is Siren Tarot. Per a subscriber's request, I'm doing a video on my tarot journey. How did the tarot journey begin for me? The absolute genesis was in 1995 when I bought my first deck, the basic Rider-Waite. I remember reading for a man who turned out to be my karmic, the first man I lived with. We met in early November of 1995 on our first date. He came to my house, made me dinner, and went to my room, and I was playing my Nevermind cassette, and I had all the candles lit, and I read his cards, and I'm quite sure I didn't know what the hell I was talking about. All I had was the the little book that came with the cards. I hadn't read any other books on tarot, and this was 5 years before I got my first computer and an internet connection, and I didn't find tarot online until maybe 3 years ago. Most of what I've learned about tarot, I've learned through Google and at YouTube, watching other readers. A few years ago, I got Cat Black's Golden Tarot deck, and this is the first deck that I really got into, got familiar with. And I've said in a few of my videos that, I don't know why I'm shuffling. I'll shuffle later, I'll pull a card of the day, a card of the night. I've said in a few of my videos that I don't read reversals, and I get that from this book. I'll read the excerpt on why I don't read reversals. Cards that appear upside down are known as reversed, and usually the meaning is significantly altered, sometimes even opposite to the upright meaning. I personally don't read cards reversed, as I feel that all cards have positive and negative aspects regardless of which way they appear. I have included traditional reversed meanings, however, since many people do consider the orientation of the card to be significant. Again, it's a case of what feels right for you, a matter of personal preference. My personal preference is to not regard reversals. Like I said before, if I were to do a 6-card spread and every single card came out reversed, that would mean something, and I would read accordingly. But I read cards in context. I do have textbook knowledge of the cards, but I also use my intuition, and I'll provide an example here. So on the random channels where I play with toys, I have dolls and toy snakes, and I actually just won this auction at eBay. I got 9 Barbie dolls and Ken dolls, some with their hair chopped off, various stains on them, really crappy torn clothes, and I will use those dolls on my other channels. So in these other channels where I'm doing the random content and rambles, and I'm showcasing my art, and I'm promoting the books that I have at Amazon, for a while there I was just doing the occasional card of the day. And so I started this channel in November of last year, and I'll get to why I decided to do this and the catalyst and all that. But first, before I get into all of that, I'm going to do a card of the night, and I'll give my interpretation of the card, and then I'll read from this, and Cat Black's Golden Tarot. Okay. Give me one card. One card of the night. One card of El Noche. Okay. Oh, that's boring. Seven of Coins, Seven of Pentacles. So my interpretation of the Seven of Pentacles is you're working on manifesting something. Abundance, a relationship. You're in the process of manifesting. You're putting in the work. The numerology system that I use, I found in the 1980s in Linda Goodman's Star Signs. And in that system, 7 is the number of Pisces and Neptune. It's a very spiritual number. So even though the Pentacles are material, and that's the earth element, I see the Seven of Pentacles as spiritual. You have faith that the work you have done will be rewarded and that you will manifest abundance. So let's see what Cat Black says about the Seven of Coins, Seven of Pentacles. His hair, it's problematic. Seven of Coins. That's my son's television on the other side of the wall. Television's an ever-present reality. Not in this room, but, you know, I watch YouTube all the time, so. Seven of Coins. Reap what you have sown. Basic material goals achieved. A time of comfort. Hard work is now rewarded and it's time to enjoy your adequate assets. This card also suggests favors done for a friend. A messenger may bring good news. The only tarot book you'll ever need. Bullshit. It's good, but it's all surface. It's superficial. There's not any real depth to this. 7, that's all major arcana. Okay. You've put in the time and effort and paid your dues. Now you will gain in your business or other enterprise. Not only that, but you feel great satisfaction from a job well done. Growth and good fortune are yours, well earned. Okay. Seven of Pentacles. Traditional meaning, efforts made will reap rewards, pausing to reflect, romance reading. There is a famous example of psychological bias called the sunk cost fallacy. This is normally about business, but it can easily apply to relationships as well. It boils down to this. We often stick with someone despite all signs pointing to a poor fit. We stay because we have poured effort and energy into this romance. Dating is so dang hard and leaving now feels like quitting too soon. We have already invested so much, we think we are so close, but basically we perceive the relationship has greater value than it objectively does. Okay, so this is about looking at a relationship and deciding if you want to go forward or cut your losses, okay? I don't really like this book. I don't recommend it. Okay? This book I like because it has depth and complexity. So, now, what was the catalyst for me doing this channel? Because I had seen a lot of pick a card channels and a lot of tarot channels, and I finally decided last November to take the plunge and try it out myself. The catalyst. There was this man. There's always a man. There was this man And I often wonder if he watches this channel. Um, I wonder if a lot of my exes watch this channel. He's not an ex. We were never together. But we met online in 2014. We had one date. He was married, but I knew that. Um, I was willing to be his lover, his side piece, his Sancho. I saw his pictures online and I was all about it. I was all in. Looks are subjective, but in my mind, he was as close as a man can get to aesthetic perfection. He was a god. So, in the first email he sent me, he said, I think in the first 30 seconds of meeting someone, you know if it's going to be a go or not. You know if you're going to proceed within 30 seconds. So I got to the restaurant first. I'm sitting there thinking, he's going to stand me up. This guy's way too hot. He's way out of my league. Well, at least I'll have a beer, you know. So he walks in the door. And that was it, you know. He looked even better in person, if that's possible. So we sat down at a table on the patio. He was sitting across from me, and I said, well? And he said, oh, it's too soon. I said, well, you said the first 30 seconds. So he did something that I really liked, because I guess it's all the Virgo and Capricorn in my chart. I notice little things like this. There are men that I have been in intense sexual romantic relationships with, and when we're at restaurants, they sit across from me. I don't like that. I feel like if I'm with a man, he should be sitting beside me. It's a small thing. He got up and he sat beside me at some point during the date, and I loved that. And we started talking, and it went beyond the physical. I liked the way his mind worked. We had a common perspective on things, I guess. We were kind of, I don't know, there was similarity there, and there was familiarity there. There was some kind of kinship. And I told him that I had written this novel, and it was at Amazon. We got in my car. He pulled out his tablet. His truck was parked beside my car. He pulled out his tablet, and he showed me the first chapter or the first paragraph of the novel he was working on. And I liked that. And we kissed, and I couldn't believe it. And we were going to go to my place. He was going to show me some martial art moves, because I told him that I had joined the boxing gym, or I'd only gone 3 times. So we went to my place, and I hula hooped, and then I got out my boxing gloves, and he showed me some martial art moves. And we talked, and I was asking him if he loved his wife, why he was out looking for something else. And you know, men can say anything. I thought, he's just looking for sex. He basically told me that he was in love with his wife, and he wasn't looking for a substantial relationship. He was just looking for sex. He was honest. He said if his wife wanted a divorce, he wouldn't divorce her. So we didn't have sex. We almost did. We were going to get a motel room later that night. He traveled for business. He flaked. I sent him an email the next day, making it clear that I was still willing to take on some role in his life, be a friend. I would like to help him with his novel, whatever. But he blew me off. He sent a very arrogant response, and it hurt. I really liked the guy a lot, but I moved on. I dated. I got into serious relationships. I almost married a cellmate in November of 2016, the man that I first met December 23rd, 2012. We were off and on for years, and we almost got married, but didn't. in November 2016. Summer of 2017, I was feeling good. I had graduated from college in 2016, so I finally had a college degree in my 40s, and I was going to Planet Fitness, I was working out, I was spending time with my son, I was in a pretty decent place. Out of the blue, I received this email from this man that I had had one date with in 2014. And I said, "You're thirsty." He said, "What? You mean sex?" "I don't have any problem getting sex. This isn't about sex." What the hell is this about? I found you fascinating. What's fascinating about me? And he said, "Everything." And I thought, maybe we have something here. This is a man who likes my mind. That's rare, especially in San Antonio. It's all about the booty call and sex and a text at 3 o'clock in the morning. "Hey, you up?" So I was excited. And backing up to when we first met in 2014, when we met, I had never heard about twin flames. I'd heard about soulmates, and I had been in love with soulmates before. So people say that when you meet your twin flame, that it's really intense, and you look into each other's eyes and you just recognize each other, and light bulbs shatter over your head or some shit. It was nothing like that. I was physically attracted to him and I liked him. That was about it when we met. So later, by the time he contacted me for the second time in 2017, I had found Jeff and Shalia's channel, and I had found other twin flame content at YouTube, and so I was aware of it. Well, I just thought it was really weird that he contacted me out of the blue after all that time, him being so good looking, and me being 10 years older and all that. So I had this really vivid dream of him. I saw him at a wedding in clothing that he would wear. I'm not going to get too specific or too detailed. It's private, but there is a certain nickname that I had for him, and I looked into his eyes in the dream, and I called him by his nickname, and I said, "I need you, call me." The next day, I woke up to a missed phone call and text messages. And this kept happening. I would dream of him, and I would wake up to a missed phone call or text messages. We were going to meet again, and something happened. His kid got sick. And I thought, okay, he's blowing me off. Again, he's flaking out. Again. We finally met for the second time, February of 2018. I drove to the park to meet him, and I felt compelled to bring this. Back then, this was still the only tarot deck that I had. Now I have probably over 20 decks, including the playing card decks. Well over 20 if I include those. But anyway, I show up, and he said, "Oh, you're going to read my cards?" I said, "No, I'm going to just pull one card for you." I told him to rub his hands together and put them on the cards, and then I put my hands on his, and then I shuffled like this. You can't see. That's why I have this stool in here. I have this new tripod and cell phone holder from Amazon, and I was trying to film myself sitting on my bed with my books and my cards, and I was shuffling. But anyway, it didn't work out. So I was trying to shuffle like a lot of people shuffle the cards at YouTube. I shuffled about 3 or 4 or 5 times, I don't know. And guess which card I pulled out? No, not the Lovers. The Emperor. Divine Masculine. So I was very flustered and nervous. sitting in the vehicle with him at the park, talking to him, I just felt, I don't know, I felt like there was no reason for us to be there. Um, I was attracted to him, but I thought, what's the purpose of this? What do we have to say to each other? What is ever going to be between us? I'm 10 years older than him. He has his life and his certain part of Texas, and I have my life and my certain part of Texas, and I don't see the point to this. I wanted there to be a point. I wanted there to be something, but I was being kind of goofy. You know, my Venus and Aquarius was on full display. We were saying bye, and he said something, and I laughed. He said it wasn't that funny. And I said, I'm nervous. I feel this connection, and I feel very vulnerable. And he hugged me. And I got in my car, and he was crouched outside my door, and he looked into my eyes and he said, I'm not going to hurt you. And I melted. So, he kissed my hair. That's how he said bye to me, was by kissing my hair. And I was high. That was my birthday week. That was the week that I turned 45. And I was high. I just felt all this hope and all this light and all this love. So we emailed a few times after that. We were going to meet for the third time this past February. Didn't happen. He flaked. And I sent him an email making it clear that I was closing the door and I was done. We had exchanged all the energy we needed to exchange for this lifetime. So, hasta la vista, vaya con Dios. But that was the catalyst. He was the catalyst for me doing this channel. I started going to pick-a cards all the time. I became addicted and started reading cards for myself, and then I created the channel in November and started reading for clients in January. Am I convinced? Do I have total conviction that this man is my twin flame? No, but he was a catalyst, and I'm glad that our paths crossed. I just watched a man, I'm subscribed to this man, talking about his twin flame journey. And he's one of those, people have all kinds of opinions on twin flames at YouTube. A lot of contradictory stuff out there. But this man is one of those who believes that not everyone has a twin flame. And I tend to believe that myself, that we don't all have twin flames. We aren't all going to ascend in this lifetime. We aren't all going to have sky-high vibrations in this lifetime. And him talking about his twin flame experience, I thought, if that's what he had, then if that's what it means to be a twin flame, then no, I have not had the twin flame experience. It's not that intense. What it was like I said, I would have very vivid dreams. I would wake up to a missed phone call or text message. That could just be garden variety synchronicity. I did feel the twin flame chills a few times, the twin flame tingles all down the left side of my body, but it never got much more vivid than that. And I Googled, and it's a thing, twin flame chills, twin flame tingles. It's a real thing. But again, I don't have conviction. I've heard about false twin flames, and there's so many labels and categories, and people like this man that I'm talking about, the man that has this channel that I'm subscribed to, they have very specific, intense experiences that I've not had. I have tried to raise my consciousness. I've gotten deep into Eckhart Tolle. I've been meditating, but I have moments where I feel very low vibration, like yesterday when I slammed my ex-husband's car door. You know, I was not in a good place. I was going on 2 hours of sleep, and I had anger issues because my Mars at 4 degrees Capricorn tightly squares my Pluto at 3 Libra. The man I met in 2012, the soulmate, the man that I wanted to marry in 2016, I abandoned him on South Padre Island the summer of 2013. I loved him so much that I left him on the island, and I hauled ass back to San Antonio, and I packed my stuff and moved out of his place. So I got my work cut out for me. Tarot helps. This has been really good therapy for me, having this channel. If I've helped other people, bueno. I'm glad that this has really helped me. Tarot therapy, yes, it's been very therapeutic for me. But I don't astral travel. If I do, I don't remember it. When I'm dreaming, my dreams are pretty common. Weird things happen, but I wish that more weird things happen, weirder things than what I've experienced. I've got Mercury and Pisces in the 7th house. What I've always craved with a partner is strong mental telepathy. And just something like the twin flame experience. You know, all my life I hungered for something like that, but didn't know what to call it. I didn't have the terminology. I hunger for that. I desire that. But I may not experience that really, truly, fully in this lifetime. So, my journey. Books that I've read. I showed the books that I've read. I've discussed the reversals and how I only read in the upright. I did about 12 or 13 takes earlier on my bed. I don't like oracle cards, so I don't read them. Partly because of the whole Doreen Virtue controversy, how she made a fuck ton of money making these cards, and then she said that it says somewhere in the Bible that Jesus says no, that's not the way to go, or whatever. When you're consulting the cards, you aren't actually consulting the angels, you're consulting demons. I was born and brought up in rural Texas by working class people who took me to churches all over Texas, mostly Southern Baptist churches. When I was a kid, I had nightmares about the rapture. I've discussed this in at least one other video, but it wasn't a good time for me. It was not a good time for me to be alive on this planet when I was growing up in Texas. I have some good memories, we all do, but I was traumatized by all the talk of hell and Satan. I did cling to Christianity even as an adult, because we tend to carry our childhood into our adulthood until we, quote unquote, get conscious, get enlightened. So I have all kinds of Christian experiences that I can talk about. I have all kinds of Bible verses that I can point to for this or that. What I've noticed is that people tend to point to Bible verses to promote whatever agenda they have. And in the last take I was doing hours ago, I brought up this, and I'll bring it up again. Adolf Hitler was a Christian. He definitely had an agenda. This man named Jim Jones, he was a preacher. He was a well-loved preacher. Motherfucker had an agenda, and it ended in Guyana when his congregation, the people who followed him from San Francisco to Guyana, died from cyanide poisoning. He was white. Most of the people who died at Jonestown in Guyana were African American. That's problematic. Didn't matter what color they were all dead. But I just bring that up because a white man killing all these African Americans, that's a hot political topic. You know, there's a lot of racial division in America now, and this is the 21st century, 2019, but we still have these problems with race. Um, so Jim Jones was a preacher. He knew the Bible front and back. And it creeped me out a few years ago at YouTube. I was doing a random video for one of my other channels. I was doing a painting, and for the background noise, I had the tape from Jonestown. You can hear these people dying in Jonestown. You can hear Jim Jones preaching to these people and telling them why they needed to drink the Kool-Aid. It was actually Flavor Aid. Why they needed to drink the cyanide and force feed their own children the cyanide. Because in his drug-fueled paranoia, the U.S. government was going to come and just gun them all down. They were going to parachute in and kill them all. And you could hear that at YouTube. You could hear these people dying in Guyana. It's very creepy. So anyway, I've used that for a few of my videos for soundtrack, for background noise. It's just so weird and poignant. It's very sad. David Koresh, Waco. My own dad, he was a preacher. He would stand at intersections in downtown Baton Rouge, Louisiana, after he had abandoned me and my siblings and my mom. He left when I was 6. But he found his second wife, his second family in Baton Rouge, and there was this picture of him in a suit and tie, and he's waving this King James Bible at an intersection in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And he is responsible for a lot of the stuff that I'm still trying to process and get over at the age of 46. But he knows his Bible, so he's got that going for him. He knows when he dies, he's going to heaven. He has absolute assurance that when he dies, he's going to heaven. And that's what I've been around all my life. People who are judgmental and they see things in black and white, and there's God and there's Satan, there's good, there's bad, there is heaven and hell, and they can point to various places in the Bible and say why tarot cards are evil, and paying attention to the phases of the moons and keeping a book of shadows, that's witchcraft, that's evil. I'm going to bring this up. The West Memphis 3. If you aren't familiar with the West Memphis 3, you can Google. But I saw the HBO documentary, Paradise Lost, when I was married to my first husband living in Albuquerque, New Mexico in 2002. I saw the documentary in 2003. Anyway, after I watched it, I sent letters to the 3 men who were wrongfully incarcerated for a grisly triple homicide they did not commit in West Memphis, Arkansas in the 90s. I think it was 94. 3 little 8-year-old boys were killed brutally. And it was pinned on these 3 poor teenage boys. And Damien Eccles almost died on death row in Arkansas for a homicide he did not commit. And he was condemned on the basis of the fact that he wore black clothing and he listened to Metallica, Black Sabbath. He was a Wiccan. He was into witchcraft. And that's how this Bible Belt, ignorant, judgmental jury sent him to death row. Because the documentary caught so much attention, and Eddie Vedder of Pearl Jam and Johnny Depp, all these celebrities got on the bus they got on board to set these guys free. And so they did. And so now Damien Eccles has been out for years, but he found his peace and his power on death row. Sitting there in solitary confinement with the roaches and the rats, malnourished, brutalized, raped by the guards, he found his peace. He meditated for hours and hours and hours. He found his, twin flame, soulmate. He married his optimal life partner while he was on death row. And now, from what I've seen on social media, I'm not on social media anymore, but I followed him at Twitter and Instagram for a while. He has a very good life, and I'm very glad. But that's what I come from. That's the environment that I come from. So when people talk about how evil tarot cards are, I take offense to that. I react to that. All the things that we have going on in this world, all the true evil, the true wrong that we have in this world right now, people going into synagogues, churches, schools, movie theaters with AR-15s and killing a bunch of people indiscriminately. That's evil. That's a problem. More and more children committing suicide. That's a problem. This book that I read 2 nights ago, and that's why I only had 2 hours of sleep yesterday, because I was up reading this book, I couldn't put it down. The Devil's Highway. It's about these Mexican men who took out these high interest loans to pay this coyote, this guide, to guide them through the Arizona desert to get into the States, because they wanted to get good job so they could buy something as basic as a decent roof for their home in Mexico, or build an addition, an extra room for their house for their newborn baby. Basic stuff like that. And so these men were in the desert in Arizona. This guy was some little punk ass 20-year-old who didn't know shit. He abandoned them, said that he'd be back. He never came back. And so these men started dying one by one. There were a few survivors, but a lot of them died, and the ones who didn't die sustained injuries. The part that made me sob was when this man in his 50s, he was older, he was a father, and his teenage son went with him across the border. This man watched his son die in the desert because they were walking out there in triple-digit heat. They didn't have adequate covering. They were not protected from the elements, and they didn't have enough water. So he watched his teenage son die. He took his American money out of his pockets and ripped it to shreds, and he died a few hours later. That's evil. That's a problem. That we have people, human beings, dying like that. That's problematic. These are dark times. There's a lot of stuff happening that makes me scared to leave the house. There's a lot of stuff happening that is so sick and so toxic that I cannot tolerate social media. I can't do Instagram, I can't do Twitter, I can't do Facebook. I can't see the constant political division in this country without wanting to puke. My ex-husband binge watches CNN, all the news, and I can't sit in there with him for any length of time and watch it. I can't even watch Bill Maher at this point. And Bill Maher is a funny guy. He's a comedian. I can't watch his show because I am sick to death of all the shit going on in the world right now. So to me, those are real problems. And how people shuffle the cards or read the cards, or if they read the cards at all, or if they read oracle cards, that's nothing that I'm going to get my panties in a wad over. there are bigger problems. Um, and so that's my tarot journey. I think I covered everything. Yeah, pretty sure that I did. Thank you all for watching, liking, commenting, subscribing, sharing. This has been amazing, watching this channel grow, getting the positive feedback, having interaction with my clients. It's been good. The twin flame stuff, I don't have clarity. So when I'm talking about the twin flame stuff with clients in private readings, I refer them to Kurt, who has this twin flame channel, and I never can get the name straight. All Star Twin Flame. I'll provide a link to his channel in the description box. But of all the twin flame content that I have found at YouTube, his is the most valid. It's the most reliable. And even though I don't really think I've met my twin flame yet, I still tend to think of myself as a divine feminine. So I probably will purchase a consultation and reading from Kurt in the near future. So that's what I've got. Sending you all massive love and light from San Antonio.